On today's video, the Chiefs win their 15th straight versus the Broncos, 27-24 in Arrowhead. Jerick McKinnon continues his hot streak. Drama continues to mount in Chiefs Kingdom over special teams woes. We're also going to talk about Mahomes' struggles, injury updates, and give our game reactions. Stick around.
So your Kansas City Chiefs are 13-3, and they are hanging on to a chance at that 1 seed in the playoffs right now as they beat the Denver Broncos 27-24. It was a tight game, but Jerick McKinnon showed up again, man. He's been on a hot streak as of late. He has 9 touchdowns on the year total, and 7 of them will come in the last 4 games. So what do you attribute that to, Mike? You think he's just on a hot streak, or do you think he's stepping up after CEH went out?
I think Jerick McKinnon's just a decent football player. His entire career, he's had to battle injuries. He's been in, systems that don't really work for him. But I think he's found a home here in Kansas City. I keep seeing people want us to sign him long-term after this year. We'll have to see about that in the offseason. But for now, he's been a spark to this offense. And as you said, he had 2 versus the Broncos today, 2 versus the Broncos the last time we played them, 2 versus the Texans, and he had 1 last week versus the Seahawks. So this guy's been on a tear.
And not only does he have these touchdowns, but they come at great times. He's been very clutch as well. So you said people want to sign him long-term. What is considered a long-term deal for Jerick McKinnon? Because he's an older cat, man. He's around 33 years old. So how much longer is he going to be valuable in the NFL?
Right. He may always be able to do this third down type of back thing. He's kind of stepped into almost a co-lead role with Isaiah Pacheco now that Clyde is out. But yeah, that's something that we'll have to discuss in the offseason. I don't really know. Yeah, so a little fun stat here by Lance the Spoken. He was on our show a few weeks ago. He says McKinnon has 8 receiving touchdowns right now on 63 fewer receptions than Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill only has 7 touchdowns receiving at this point. How crazy is that? Did we find another spark in the form of Jerick McKinnon, or is this just Andy Reid's offense?
It's Andy Reid's offense, but I did make the joke earlier today when we were watching the game, man. Jerick McKinnon's our best receiver, like he's not much of a rusher. Pacheco is definitely the guy you want to be handing the ball to, but McKinnon gives you that pass protection, and he also gives you the football IQ, and he gets where he needs to be on routes and makes big plays happen. And he's pretty elusive after he has the ball, man. He gets yards after catch, so definitely a great weapon for the Chiefs to have. I'm excited for Jerick McKinnon. Like you said, he's had kind of a troubled career with injuries and things like that. When he was in Minnesota and San Francisco, he never really got to break out like people thought he could. But it looks like he's starting to do that here in Kansas City, and people are loving it, man.
Yeah, Mahomes is starting to trust him. Today, he had 5 receptions, 52 yards, 2 touchdowns. And again, he's on a hot streak. But speaking of someone not on a hot streak, that is our kicker, Steve, Harrison Butker. He gets another one blocked today. He did not just miss it. It was blocked. And so this is a big debate right now in Chiefs Kingdom. Everyone is piling on Tommy Townsend for holding the ball wrong, thanks to Dustin Colquitt. What are your thoughts about this, man?
Man, my thoughts on this are plain and simple. Dustin Colquitt is out of his lane. Like, you're retired, you're punter. You should not be talking about the current punter of the Chiefs. Just shut up. Because all you're doing is starting a bunch of drama in Chiefs Kingdom. Because whatever Colquitt says, the Chiefs media, even YouTube channels, they start parroting him. And then all the fans that watch those start parroting them. And then all of a sudden you have entire Chiefs Kingdom down on Tommy Townsend, who is a Pro Bowl punter, the best punter in football, and you're running him in the ground. I actually saw tweets today where they were saying, we have to get Tommy Townsend out of here. Like, we need him off the team. Like, how delusional can you be? And first of all, Harrison Butker has never been the most consistent kicker. He's had trouble all year. And I put on Twitter, if you really think that every miss that Harrison Butker has had this year is because of a bad hold, then you need to get a clue, because that is just wrong 100%. I know a lot of people want to talk about the bad hold here, bad hold there. There might have been 1 or 2. I'm not saying there's not. But do you think every kicker in the league gets a perfect hold every kick? They do not. So you have to put most of this blame on Butker, and maybe those 1 or 2 bad holds, like, man, Townsend could improve on that. Or if they really thought it was a problem, Dave Tope to be like, hey, let's get Chad Henne in here to do this, or somebody that's not Townsend. Why do they continue to do this? Is it a Sky Moore situation? But there's so many different ways that you can look at this. But I think that blaming Tommy Townsend, the holder, for the kicker's woes is just garbage. I think it's a scapegoat.
Yeah, you're right. This is going pretty far. It's going within the media. It's going within the influencers within Chiefs Kingdom. Another one today. I talked to Kent Swanson. You guys know him from KC Sports Network. He does a lot of good for the Chiefs. He really does. But he comes out today and he says, mark the spot inside the hash, place the ball outside the hash. He puts this on Twitter. He shows a picture of Townsend, line it up, and he shows the laces in. He didn't get the full picture on there. The laces ended up being perfectly where they were supposed to go, but he was trying to make the point that Tommy Townsend put it a little outside the hash and he marked it inside the hash. I'm talking maybe 2 to 3 inches. Again, this is all, you don't have a kicker that gets perfect holds and everything. There's so much goes into this. So I tweet Kent Swanson and I said, look, man, the hold was good. It was blocked. It's simple as that. You guys are trying to blame Townsend for everything and it's dumb as hell. Be better. 100% be better. And I didn't mean anything rude by that, but I'm just saying, look, you guys are who people look to, and you guys are leading this charge with all of Chiefs Kingdom coming at Townsend. It's not right. It's getting in his head. So he writes me back and he says, I held in college for 3 years. There are issues. I'm going to write about them. So, okay, cool. So I looked it up. He did. He played at Mid-American Nazarene University. It's an NAIA school. He says he held for 3 years. Cool. But I was just like, look, Kent, it was blocked. This is the kind of stuff you can't say as an influencer. It's getting in Townsend's head. And then he kind of got a little irritated. He said, this is literally the first time I've chimed in on this. And I give an actual example of it rather than just complain. But you come on here and tell me to be better. So, I mean, sorry if I offended you, Kent, but you got to be better.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to be better when you're trying to attribute a blocked kick to the holder. Like, why are you even blaming the holder here? Because the kick was obviously deflected by a defender. So who knows? That kick could have went in. Would we have been talking about the hold then if he hit the field goal? No. We would not. Like I said, Townsend is clearly a scapegoat for people that don't want to be like Butker, struggling a little bit. And even today, Butker wasn't necessarily struggling. He hit every other kick that he made. It was just that one that got blocked, plain and simple.
Right.
But while we're on the subject of stuff that Chiefs Kingdom don't like to talk about, we're going to talk about some of Mahomes' struggles today, because we all know that Chiefs Kingdom wants to blame everything on the defense every game. You know, can't blame Butker, and you definitely can't blame Patrick Mahomes. But Mahomes had a good game. Let's be honest here. He's over 300 yards. He had like 3 touchdowns. Good game. But he missed so much. His throwing was very inaccurate today, in my opinion. His downfield throws are definitely inaccurate. And he's left MVS hanging big time, because MVS, it's chatter around Chiefs Kingdom that he's been struggling. He's not very good. He needs to lose snaps. He might be out of here sooner than we think. This guy's had 3 50-yard touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. And Mahomes has overthrown him or underthrown him and just cannot get him the ball on the mark. So I feel like that's not fair to MVS. And Mahomes also missed the mark on several other throws today. What do you think's going on with him, Mike?
Yeah, so Mahomes in his presser, he said just that. He said he didn't play his best football today. The other guys stepped up. He give credit to the defense. He said they put him in a lot of bad situations and they came through, which again, everybody wants to blame the defense for everything. But yeah, Mahomes was missing balls. He was throwing them behind Kelce. He was throwing them low. He missed Sky Moore on a play that everybody wanted to blame Sky Moore for, but he just missed him. He missed MVS twice. He said he had to go to MVS after the game and apologize because he said, hey man, you should have had 2 50-plus yard touchdowns today and I missed you. He said his mechanics were bad. He's starting to throw off his back foot. He's starting to get a little lackadaisical, twisting his body, you know, the sidearm and this and that. It's all cute and fun when it hits. But if you start relying on it too much, a good defense like Denver will catch up to you. And that's exactly what happened. It was a bad throw to Justin Watson in the end zone that got picked off early in the game. So, yeah, Mahomes called it out. What I did find funny, Steve, in the presser, he said that speaking about Jerick McKinnon, they was asked, you know, how did Jerick McKinnon, was that a design play? And he said, yeah.
I mean, a lot of those things, he's not the first read. He's not the second read. The first one we had the little screen pass versus the pressure look that they had that we called, that Coach EB and them called. That was a great call. Coach EB and them called.
He said that EB called that beautiful play. And I was just sitting there thinking like, wait, EB called the play. Didn't Travis Kelce just come out and say Andy Reid calls the plays?
Right. So like we talked about on one of our previous videos, he says Andy Reid calls all the plays, but I think what Travis meant more of is Andy has final say. But I mean, you could see it all day today. The camera was on EB on the sideline. This guy's calling plays throughout the whole game. And I understand it's probably a concerted effort between the two, and they're going back and forth about this and that. But EB definitely has a say in his offense. I think that's quite apparent. And then Mahomes goes out and says that. If EB dialed up that play on that blitz that McKinnon, had the little delayed screen and scored the touchdown, that was a genius play call. As soon as I saw that play develop, I think I looked at you and Pops, and I was just like, man, what a play call, dude. Like, they knew that was dialed up, and they just exploited it and scored a touchdown. That was beautiful.
Hey, I will say again, we've debated who's called the plays, Reed, EB. It's going to keep going because again, Kelce gets debunked 3 days later, and now he's saying EB calls them. Andy Heck calls plays. We've called that out. No matter who calls the plays, we just want it to be better. And today they could have got better. The play calling looked really bad. We fell short again on third and shorts a lot. We only had 12 rushes for 38 yards today. That is unacceptable. On a day that Mahomes doesn't have his best stuff, Mahomes should not be slinging the ball over 45, 46 times. And Pacheco gets 9 carries, McKinnon gets 2 carries, and Rojo gets 1 carry. I actually thought when Rojo come out and got that early carry, we were going to see a little run game today, and they abandoned it quick. We only had 1 rush in the third quarter, Steve. Like, we were sitting there talking about it live and being like, what is going on?
Right. I was getting ready to say what makes that stat worse is there was probably 3 or 4 carries on the last drive. So that's kind of a padded stat. Like, it was absolutely pathetic how much they went away from their run game. Granted, they weren't getting big chunks like usual, but you got to keep plugging, man. That's what opens that stuff up, and what's open up the stuff downfield as well. And it just wasn't happening. And you saw a lot of cluttered, sputtering offense today because of it. And we're going to continue to see that same thing over and over again if they don't at least halfway stick to this run game. I mean, if they only want to do 20 to 25 carries, I can live with that. I don't like it, but I can live with it. Yeah, coming out and doing 12 an entire game and 3 or 4 of them are in your last drive. This is why you struggled.
So we've seen a few injuries today, Steve. Tooney, he had to leave the game. He come back into the game. He left the game again. Same thing. I think it was an ankle. They're supposed to do an MRI tomorrow. Sky Moore also had a laceration to his hand. So I wonder what's going to go on with this. Like, do we feel like Sky's going to be good going forward? But Tooney, more than likely, we've talked about it, he may go ahead and sit this last week just to get healthy for the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think they could win this last week against the Raiders without him. So, yeah, get him healthy because we need him on the field. We saw what happened in the game. I can't remember who we were playing, but he was out that game, I think, with an ankle injury, if I'm not mistaken. But they had Allegretti come in and start. The left side of that line let up a lot of pressure that game. And, of course, Orlando Brown took the bulk of the heat from Chiefs Kingdom. But when you go back and look at it, Allegretti had a terrible game, and it was affecting Orlando Brown Jr. So that line has to work cohesively as a unit. If you have a guard not pulling their weight, that tackle is going to have a rougher time that day. And that's exactly what happened. And we can't afford that in the playoffs. Joe Tooney is probably the most solid, consistent offensive lineman we got, and that's counting Creed Humphrey. I think Joe Tooney is the glue in that offensive line. He's the veteran. And I think he's partly the reason why Creed and Trey Smith have been so successful because they have someone like Joe Tooney in that locker room.
Yeah, Tooney's a valuable piece, but I have 100% faith that Allegretti can come in and he can do it. If he gets a full week of practice and they get a good game plan going and he gets to work and gets all the reps this week, I'm confident Allegretti can take care of business versus the Raiders. And we'll go into the playoffs with a healthy Joe Tooney, hopefully. Hopefully it's nothing long-term. But before we go on and give away some game balls, Steve, let's talk about the defense a little bit. Everybody was on the defense all game long again, and they were not taking into account that, like, we had some special teams turnovers with Tony fumbling that punt return and put him on a short field. It wasn't that great of a performance by Denver's offense. The defense today for the Chiefs actually stepped up in a lot of key situations. I thought they looked pretty good today. What do you think?
Man, the defense stepped up today. End of story. They were just good. The defense was good. They looked good all day. They had pressure on Russ all day. They let up 320 total yards of offense. 214 of those was passing, 106 of them were rushing. But they also had 6 sacks and 2 picks. I mean, come on. And they were really efficient on third down. Third and fourth down combined, they only converted 7 of 19, Denver did. So, I mean, we shut them down when it counted. Defense showed up. Frank Clark is on a tear, man. He's playing the best football he's ever played as a Chief. George Karlaftis is coming on. He got another sack today. I mean, these guys are just starting to click. Mike Dana looked really good today. He was getting held like crazy. Otherwise, he would have probably had a couple sacks as well. Of course, Josh Williams got picked on a little bit. When he's having a halfway decent game, the refs have to get involved and really make it bad. That pass interference on that little slant play, that was impossible to call. That was pathetic.
Hands to the face.
The hands to the face was the worst. No, that's two different plays.
Oh, okay.
The hands to the face is the one that gave them a free first down when they had them off the field.
Yeah. It was a fourth down.
It was a hands to the face, but it was so quick and not an issue. I'm surprised. It was ticky-tacky for them to call it.
Here's my thing with that. You play bump coverage on the outside. We all know they punch. All Cortland Sutton did was put his head down because he knew he was going to get punched in the face, I said, and that's what happened.
Ticky-tacky.
It was a complete, should have been a no call.
And then, of course, you have the Broncos fans that are crying and complaining. Well, they called offensive pass interference on Cortland Sutton. Well, he actually shoved Brian Cook right as the ball got there. That is textbook push off. You cannot do that. You cannot extend your arm. You cannot shove a defender to catch the ball, get a better position. That's textbook. I don't know what they're complaining about.
Yeah. It was ticky-tacky, but he did extend. I'll give him that. That's all the official sees. They said that Cook kind of tripped over himself. It wasn't as hard a push as it looked.
Cook sold it. He did, but that's just smart football by Cook because he definitely pushed off. So make it look that way. And if he catches the ball, maybe you get a flag. And that's what happened. So.
Right. I'm with you, though. I think the only down spot today for us, I think our linebackers didn't have a good game as a whole. I don't think Willie and Nick Bolton played as well as they usually play. We just didn't look as good in the middle of the field. We give up a lot of coverage there over the middle. Nick Bolton got beat on a few coverage, which we know he's going to do. We're always soft in the middle. But other than that, I really think Thornhill struggled a little bit. I was glad to see Cook get a lot more reps. But yeah, I think we played pretty well. We did hold Russell to 48.4 QBR. So not that bad. We did get a lot of sacks, like you said. I thought Trent McDuffie had another big game. On third down, they only converted 3 third downs out of 12. So, I mean, I think we stepped up when it counted. I thought it was a good day for our defense. I give them a solid B+ on the day for sure.
Was that Trent McDuffie that had the sack fumble?
Yes.
Yeah, that was a good play. That was a great play. Defense stepped up. All I noticed in this game today was that the special teams is still a liability. They've got to get it together, dude. We've been talking about this all season. We're getting ready to go into the playoffs, and we're still having special teams woes. Dave Tobe, get your guys together, man. Get it straight because we cannot afford blunders on special teams in the playoffs, especially in tight games. If we're playing the Bengals or the Bills, you can't afford to give up stuff like that. Also, the offense. Good God, they've got to stop sputtering. We're supposed to be the top offense in football. And at one point, we had like six points in the first half or something. It was really sad.
We only converted 2 third downs out of 9. That was our conversion rate on third down today.
You can contribute a lot to terrible play calling. There was plenty of bad play calling. Always is. It's just something that we have to deal with. But as many times as you see a bad play call, you do see good ones. So it's kind of give and take with Andy Reid's system. That's just how it is. You know that's coming. But a lot of it could be attributed to Patrick Mahomes had a bad accuracy day. There were plenty of times where he was just throwing the ball in the dirt. He was throwing it behind receivers. He missed Kelce. He missed MVS. He missed Justin Watson. He missed a lot. Obviously, he's the best player in the league. He's the most valuable player. That's not even arguable. But he does have a high ceiling, and he can get better. There's things for him to improve on.
Yeah, 100%. So let's get on to game balls, and I'll start it today. I'm going to give my game ball to Patrick Mahomes. I think he did enough to win. He overcome a not very sharp game by Patrick Mahomes standard, but he did find a way to win. He ended up going 29 for 42, 328 yards, 3 touchdowns. He did have that really bad pick. He didn't get sacked all day. I thought that was really good by our offensive line. He had a QBR 68.1, so not the best, but I did say he was going to have 350 and 4 touchdowns. I was pretty close, 328 and 3 touchdowns. I'll go ahead and give him that game ball because I still do believe without Patrick Mahomes on the field, we wouldn't have won that game. As a defensive game ball, I'm going to go ahead and just give it to George Karlaftis. He got another sack. I think that's 5 sacks in 6 weeks. He's coming on at the right time. I love George Karlaftis. I just want to give Furious George a little bit of love.
All right. My offensive game ball is going to Jet McKinnon. I said he'd have 2 touchdowns. He did just that. So he's on a hot streak. He's been clutch. Let's give him his props, man. Jarrett McKinnon, game ball on the offense. Defensive side of the ball, I'm going with Chris Jones, man. Chris Jones continues to wreak havoc in the middle of the football field. He has overtaken Aaron Donald as the best defensive tackle in football. the best defensive player in football. And people can argue with that all day if they want to, but they're wrong because Chris Jones is better than Aaron Donald right now. It's just all there is to it. So game ball for Chris Jones as well.
Hey, love the Trent McDuffie. Maybe play of the day with that strip sack, as you alluded to.
Yes.
So, yeah, Trent
yes.
McDuffie. Good. Man, our young guys are contributing.
Man.
It's looking good going forward.
I love watching Trent McDuffie cover, man. Like, I've never watched a corner that I like to watch as much as McDuffie. If you guys watch him, he's so fast and he is on these guys' hips. He's just good. And I think they made a wise decision moving up and taking him in that draft. And you're going to see that pay off in years to come because I think he's going to be locked down. Yeah, but overall, another big day for the Chiefs and Chiefs Kingdom. They are 13-3 now. That 1 seed is still in play. Unfortunately, we're all going to have to be Bengals fans for one night on Monday night. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you want to see what our predictions were like and how close we were for this game with the Broncos, watch this video right here and check that out. Make sure to get in the comments, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit the bell. We appreciate you guys, and we'll be back tomorrow with more on your Kansas City Chiefs.
Go Chiefs.
Aside from my soul.